settle in.
In 2021, the Speaker of the New Hampshire House of Representatives called a female colleague a bitch on a hot mic in chambers. He apologized, and of course he kept his job. He kept his gavel. Fast forward to 2026, a female representative, frustrated, exhausted, fighting for survivors, said the F word in a hallway. To herself, essentially. Overheard by a lobbyist, she was censored, she was banned, same building, different rules. I'm Gracie Gatto, and this is the Gracie Gatto podcast. And today, we read the receipts. Welcome back, everyone. Pull up a chair, pour something stiff, because today's episode is one of those that I genuinely wish I didn't have to do, but here we are. It's not because it's hard, it's because it shouldn't still be happening. We're going to talk about power. We're going to talk about speech. We're going to talk about who gets punished for what words and what rooms, and why in this state the answer is almost always comes back to gender. Now, I want to be careful here because I am a journalist. I deal in facts, I deal in documents. And today, friends, I have documents. What you are about to hear is drawn from a letter, a real letter sent April 11th, 2026, addressed to the House Speaker Sherman Packard and Concord Mayor Brian Champlin. It was CC'd to legislators, journalists, and advocates across the state. I was CC'd on it too, and I read it. And I thought, this needs to be said out loud, clearly, for the record. So that's exactly what we are going to do. This week, Rep. Ellen Reed was advised not to be in the chamber for House Bill 1633, her own bill before the Senate. She expressed her frustration in the hallway, using the F word. And for that, she has now been banned by the House Speaker, Sherman Packard. Now, she wasn't addressing the public or the Senate. She was overheard by a lobbyist, Jody Grimbillas, making these comments. About the Senate and the chair of the Senate. Anyway, she was in the hallway. She was not at a microphone. She was not addressing a chamber. She was a woman venting frustration about a bill. She wrote a bill for rape survivors while being told she shouldn't even be in the same room when it was being debated. You see what I mean? So let me say that again so it lands. She wrote the damn thing. She wrote the bill, and she was told not to be present for it. And when she expressed frustration about that fact in a hallway, she was banned from the chambers where laws are made. Meanwhile, Rep. Sherman Packard, the male Speaker of the House, was caught on a hot mic calling a female representative, Rep. Ann Kopp, a bitch in 2021. But an apology was enough for him not to be banned from chambers. So let's be precise. Sherman Packard, the man currently holding the gavel that censored Rep. Ellen Reed, called a colleague a bitch on a hot microphone in chambers in his official capacity. He apologized. He was not censored. He was not banned. He was, in fact, re-elected House Speaker. And I want to note, and this is important, that Damian Fisher of the New Hampshire Journal, who apparently had time to write many hit pieces on Rep. Ellen Reed, did not apparently find the time to write about Sherman Packard calling a woman a bitch in chambers. Now, isn't it funny how all that works? Huh? Little pro club? And when I say funny, I mean enraging. In January 2026, Concord Mayor Champlin used the F word against Councillor Stacey Brown in Concord City Council chambers in a public meeting. Councillor Fred Keech also used the F word against Councillor Stacey Brown and pointed his finger at her in such a way that was threatening and required Councillor Brown or another councillor to put their hand on Keech's shoulder to get him to back off. Keech was standing, pointing down at Brown, who was sitting and using the F word against her. A standing man using profanity, pointing his finger down at a seated woman in a public chamber in a city council meeting funded by taxpayers. And Councillor Keech was not reprimanded. But Mayor Champlin, who had also used the F word against Councillor Brown, then labeled her an agent of chaos. And what did the local news media do? They ran with the label. They didn't report the F word. They didn't report the finger. They didn't report Councillors Amanda Grady Sexton's apparent threat against Stacey Brown. They ran with agent of chaos. Because that's what happened. The woman who was sworn at became the story. The men who swore became the background. Now, Councillor Amanda Grady Sexton got a security detail for her protection. None was offered to Councillor Brown. The public paid for the security detail, which wouldn't have been necessary had Mayor Champlin and Councillor Keech had not used the F word against Stacey Brown. The public paid for a security detail for Amanda Grady Sexton, who was not even being sworn at. And she was being harassed. Trust me, we would have seen it. We would have. Anyway, for the councillor whose organization, the NHCA-DSB, was, according to this letter, making straw donations to political candidates, including potentially the Speaker of the House, who just censored Rep. Ellen Reed. We're going to come back to that because there is a web here and we're going to pull every thread. So here's where it gets extremely complicated, and honestly, here's where I just lose it. And it gets clarifying because once you see the connections, nothing about this seems random. Nothing about it is random. So let's talk about Jody Grimbillis. Grimbillis is the lobbyist who overheard Rep. Ellen Reed in the hallway. The lobbyist whose report to the speaker triggered Reed's censure. Grimbillis is also, according to this letter, someone who made donations on behalf of the NHCA-DSB to political candidates that may have included Sherman Packard himself. Straw donations for the uninitiated are illegal. They are the practice of funneling money through a third party to obscure the true donor. And Packard's campaign financing was apparently under scrutiny for the 2022-2024 period, which overlaps when those donations were allegedly made. Now, the New Hampshire Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence lobbied against House Bill 1633, the bill Rep. Ellen Reed introduced, the bill about survivors' rights. They lobbied against it with extended time for questions, while supporters of the bill had less. And the Senate was apparently told, allegedly by the New Hampshire Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence, that the bill was about allowing rape victims to take rape kits home, which is not at all what the bill says. At all. Meanwhile, WMUR, which filmed the hearing, has a political director named Adam Sexton. Now, Adam Sexton is married to Amanda Grady Sexton, the one who allegedly threatened Councillor Stacey Brown. Councillor Sexton is the NHCADSV's Director of Public Affairs. So let's sit with that for a minute. The lobbyist who got Ellen Reed censored has ties to an organization that lobbied against Reed's bill, which was being covered by a network whose political director is married to a leader of that organization, while the speaker who censored Reed may have received donations from that same organization through the lobbyist who reported Reed. This is not a conspiracy theory. These are documented relationships. They are named, they are on record. And the question this letter is asking, and the question amplifying, is simple. Are public officials in this state being controlled by straw donors who empower them to punish women who ask very inconvenient questions? I want to be transparent with you, as I always am. You know, I'm in this story too. David Fisher wrote a piece about, a lot of things about, accusing me of, and I'm quoting, jihad against the NHCADSV, misinterpreting, wrongful voting charge. And he wrote a piece about Claire Best. He wrote pieces about Stacey Brown, and he especially saves the venom for Rep. Ellen Reed. There is a pattern of women journalists, advocates, elected officials, civilians who question the NHCADSV or the status quo of New Hampshire politics, and who then find themselves the subject of hit pieces or smear campaigns. I am one of those women, and I'm still here. You can't break me. They didn't debate Ellen Reed's bill on the merits. They told her not to be in the room. They didn't address the substance of questions about the NHCADSV. They called it a jihad. They didn't defend Mayor Champlin's conduct. They called Stacey Brown an agent of chaos. When you can't answer the question, you attack the person asking it. Note that every time. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with a very clear and documented pattern of gendered double standards in New Hampshire government. It leaves us with men who used profanity against women in official chambers, walking free, walking around while women who expressed frustration in a hallway are censored. It leaves us with questions about whether campaign donations, potentially illegal ones, are purchasing protection for some officials and punishment for others. And it leaves us with a letter sent today to the Speaker of the House and the Mayor of Concord, CC'd to half the New Hampshire Press Corps. The letter asks for answers. We will see if answers come. In the meantime, subscribe to my podcast. Follow the Gracie Gatto podcast on Substack, because this story is not over. This story is, in fact, just beginning. And to every woman in New Hampshire and New Hampshire government who has been told to sit down, shut up, and stay out, we're still here, and we're not going nowhere. I'm Gracie Gatto, and this has been the Gracie Gatto podcast. Till next time.
Welcome to Gracie Gatto Podcast.